Welcome to Ocean Tracks. Using this tool, you can explore the movements and behaviors of open ocean animals and NOAA drifter buoys and see how they relate to the physical environment that surrounds them. We hope that you enjoy this adventure. In the Tracks menu, you can select from a variety of different data sources, including different species of animals, as well as NOAA drifter buoys. To show new tracks on the map, simply click on the plus sign and select from the available tracks by clicking the Show box. If you're going to display multiple tracks from a single species, you might also want to click the Use Unique Colors box, which shows each of those tracks in different colors so that they can be told apart from one another. If you would like to look at a particular track in more detail, you can click the Active button, which will allow you to interact with that track in different ways to get more information about it. When a track is made active, it's possible to explore it in greater detail using the Tools menu. One of the first things you'll notice at the very top is there's a play button labeled Show Animal Movement. When you click this button, you can follow the animal's movement as it made the track. And in the upper right-hand corner of the map, you'll see the dates moving along as the animal swims along that track that it made. You can also explore the other kinds of data that were recorded about the animal's behavior. For example, we can look at the maximum depth the animal dove to each day. We can look at its speed. We can look at the curviness of the track. We can also look at the sea surface temperature and the chlorophyll that was measured each day as the animal made its way along the track. Using these tools, we can learn a lot more about the animal's behavior. So for example, if we want to learn a little bit more about the animal's speed, let's say we want to select a part of the track where the animal was moving especially fast. We can do that by moving these time sliders and selecting a portion of the track where the animal's speed was especially high. As I make this selection, there are a couple of things that you'll notice. One is that we're getting a much more detailed view of this speed graph right down below. You'll also notice that on the map itself, that portion of the track is highlighted that we've just selected. By mousing over this more detailed view, we can get specific dates and measurements. So for example, on June 16th, the animal was moving at an average speed of 5 kilometers per hour. Over here on June 26th, its average speed was lower at 2.5 kilometers per hour. The average speed along the entire track is shown down at the bottom at 3.75 kilometers per hour. If we scroll up a little bit, you'll see at the bottom that there are two other tools that we can work with here. One is the Add Measurements tool, and the other is the View Measurement Table tool. If we go to Add Measurements, it brings up an interactive form that we can fill out. So right now we're interested in speed, so we might fill out that the average speed was 3.75 kilometers per hour. The minimum speed that we saw was 2.5 kilometers per hour, and the maximum speed was 5 kilometers per hour. We can write in some notes, and we can save our observations so that we can look at them later. If we want to look at observations that we've made, we can click our View Measurement table, and it will show the measurements that we just put in, and we can make a whole bunch of those so that later we can go back and compare the measurements that we've made across different portions of the track or from one track to another. We can also export that in the form of a CSV file that we can work with in other programs. One of the goals of Ocean Tracks is to help you to explore the relationships between animals and their environment. The Overlays menu allows you to overlay information about the environment, including bathymetry, which is the depth of the ocean shown here, sea surface temperature, chlorophyll, and human impacts. Because the ocean is constantly changing, some of these variables, like sea surface temperature and chlorophyll, require you to specify what year and month you're interested in looking at. So, for example, we were just examining this elephant seal track, which started in spring of 2004 and went through early 2005. So we might choose a date right in the middle of that time, in June of 2004, and we'll show a sea surface temperature overlay. So here we can see the sea surface temperature as it was measured during that period of June 2004. In addition to showing sea surface temperature and chlorophyll, we can show the currents that were in the ocean during that time. These will show up as arrows, the size of which indicate how fast those currents are moving. And we can also create a hotspot map. That shows where this animal was spending most of its time. If we hide the tracks here, we can see that if we just have one track on here, we don't get a lot of information. It looks like this animal spent a lot of time here, but for the most part was moving pretty quickly. However, if we add several more tracks to that, refresh the hotspots, and then hide the tracks again, we'll see that many more hotspots start showing up. Many of the tools that are found in the pull-out menus on Ocean Tracks can also be accessed directly from the track itself. For example, here we see this elephant seal track. If we run our mouse over it, occasionally the hand turns into a pointing finger. We can click on that point of the track and get more information about it. So at this particular location, this happened to be on June 15th, 2004, which was the 5th day of a 221-day long track. And on that date, the seal's average speed was 3.9 kilometers per hour. The curviness of the track was 1. The sea surface temperature at that point was 15.2 degrees centigrade, and the chlorophyll at that location on that date was 0.2 milligrams per cubic meter. Another thing that we can do using this interactive bubble is to put up overlays that are from that date. So for example, we can click on the Show Sea Surface Temperature map to put the sea surface temperature overlay on for that date. We can also launch the chlorophyll map or the currents map. Finally, we can, by clicking the Set Plot Start Date button, we can establish this date, June 15th, 2004, as the start date for our Track Tools menu. If we select another point further down the track, so this happens to be July 8th, 2004, we can set that as the plot end date. And now this particular stretch of track is the one that we can look at and interact with in the Tools menu. You can see that this first slice of the track is the one that we've highlighted here, and we can look at maximum depth, at speed, at the track curviness, and so on, just as we demonstrated earlier. One last thing is in each of these content bubbles at the top we can see which animal this was. This happens to be elephant seal 302. There's an icon of the elephant seal, And by clicking on this little document icon, we can bring up metadata about the entire track. So the length of this track happens to be 11,496.87 kilometers. The track started on June 10th, 2004, went to January 17th, 2005, which gave it a total duration of 221 days. In the Ocean Tracks interface, we've provided you with a place where you can customize your maps and keep track of the things that you're learning. These can be found in My Maps. The first thing that you need to do is to log in using the username and password that you've been given. And once you go in there, you'll see each of the different learning modules that are available to you to work with. Let's view the first one. Once we're inside that module, you can see that we can add markers, putting this wherever we want, and typing in a label here and saving it to our map. If we want to highlight an entire region, we can add a polygon. And by dragging the corners of that polygon, we can use it to surround a particular part of the map that we're interested in highlighting for later. Once we have the map the way we want it, we can save the map, giving it a title. And saving it here. We can also share that map with other people by clicking the Share button, or we can get rid of it by clicking on the X. If you'd like to learn more about what you're studying in Ocean Tracks, we encourage you to use the library, which is available on the right-hand side of your screen. There you'll find additional information about a number of different topics, including links to other resources, photographs, and videos. We hope that you enjoy it.